Hi guys, thanks for tuning into this week's video, and today I want to talk to you about Osho, or his other fancy Bhagwan long name, but we all just know him as Osho or Osho, however you want to pronounce it. The documentary Wild Wild Country that was about his Rajneeshpuram, really hope I've got that right, and the documentary that Netflix made about that kind of community and its downfall and the Osho kind of worship and cult. So I'm just going to talk about it from my kind of feelings about watching the documentary, my experience of working with Osho material before the documentary, and kind of what I feel like now we've come out of the other side of it and loads of people have watched it and I've had time to digest it and really think about my relationship with the material and the movement, and just trying to give a balanced view of it and my own experience of working with Osho's teachings. So if we rewind to before Netflix made the Wild Wild Country documentary, I didn't know anything about Osho. I went travelling, went to Bali, was in Yoga Barn in Ubud, and they have a little bookshop in there. And there was this book, Osho, Book of Woman. I'll just this book. Oh no, sorry guys, that's the Book of Man. Book of Woman, Osho, Book of Woman. And I just saw this on the shelf, and I don't know why, I just was like, I'm going to buy this book, I'm going to read it, because we were going to the Gili Islands, I was going to have time to like just chill out and read a book. So it's like, right, I'm going to read this Osho book. It was absolutely incredible. I never knew anything about him. Like, it was one of those moments where I just got this strong feeling that I needed to buy that book, and started reading it, and it literally, like, people talk about having like a Kundalini awakening, the serpent uncurling. It wasn't like quite as dramatic as that, but it was incredible. Like, the feeling that I had when I was reading this book, I was stepping into my feminine power. Osho's teachings were revelationary to me at that time. We're talking like 2015, 4 years ago. So it was absolutely incredible, the information. He was basically talking about how much women had been oppressed and repressed, their energies had been suppressed, and they really have so much power. Like, women, we have got so much power, and he very much looks at it from the centre point of the fact that masculine kind of patriarchal society is afraid of the amount of energy and especially like sexual energy that women have, and how we've been suppressed and told that we are secondary, but actually we are hugely powerful. And balancing this with the male energy, which you can read about in the Book of Man, which is the kind of this, I know I said the sister publication, but that would be wrong, the brother publication to Book of Woman. This talks about like how male energy and female energy and how they can be balanced out, and can be so beautiful when they're brought together in harmony, like this masculine and feminine energy that resides within all of us. It's not just like, I'm a man and I have masculine energy, and I'm a woman and I have feminine energy. It just tends to be that it's more dominant in the two sexes as a generalization. I'm very aware that everything that I'm going to be talking about is a generalization, and for the majority, obviously there'll always be some percentage that buck this trend. But going back, so I read this Osho book and I was like, oh my God, this man is phenomenal. Like, the teachings, the information, the fearlessness which he delivers the information with, absolutely incredible. Spoke to my soul, went deep into how I was feeling, and I was a changed person after reading that book. Like, literally was, sorry, I've just got an itchy nose. I was a changed woman. I was as Brittany would say, I felt like I was a girl before I read that, like a timid, unsure girl, and then I read that and I applied the teachings and I began to go on this new journey, and I felt like I became the woman that I am now. So Osho, only had good things to think about Osho. God, like, absolutely loved him. Read the Book of Woman, read the Book of Man, which is the perfect complement to that. I've got other books on creativity and courage. He's got this huge volume of long kind of like essays and snippets of lectures he's done, all published under Penguin, that you can get. And the teachings in those books are incredible. I cannot stress how sort of the clarity that he delivers it with, and the genuine fearlessness and authenticity that he brings to that. So that was my background with Osho. And then I didn't even know that this Wild Wild Country thing was coming out. I didn't know anything about the sannyasins, and the sannyasins are the people that followed Osho and dedicated their lives to him. And, you know, just as a nod, I wore this colour because they all wore this colour. This was like the kind of uniform that they all wore. And they went to this part of America where it was really kind of like waste, drought land, and seen as unfertile kind of prairie land. And then he went there and they bought up this land and they set up this community called, or it was kind of like a city called Rajneeshpuram. And this is what the documentary is about. It's about what happened there, how it all went basically tits up and it went really wrong, and there were hierarchies being created and there were power struggles and there were rogue cells of people who did some unspeakably horrendous things, which you will find out about in the documentary, trying to poison enemies, basically militarizing this community. It all got pretty dark, so that's all covered in the documentary. But on the flip side, what you see in the documentary is also that they took this land and they made it incredibly fertile. They were growing all their own food there. There was this incredible buildings and infrastructure that they built out of nothing. There was this great sense of community amongst a lot of the sannyasins. There were some beautiful kind of creative minds and highly talented people joining together to make this place a reality. And they kind of came into this very traditional American setting where everyone was in these like monogamous marriages and they were all living in the picket fence type lifestyle and farming the land and were very Christian in their beliefs. And then all of these sannyasins move in and they're all like just walking around naked and sunbathing and totally like free love, and I think a lot of them were in open relationships and there was lots of free sexuality. So it was in very stark contrast to the other people that were living surrounding Rajneeshpuram. And I can really see like how awful that must have been for those people. I don't know how I would react if that happened on my doorstep. And obviously you saw all of the darkness that went on after the community, this utopia, was created. It soon turned into a very dystopian kind of destructive, in parts, society that they had built there. And that was mainly due to this woman, in my opinion, Sheila, who was kind of a support. She was like his right-hand woman in a way. So Osho was the leader and she was left to kind of do all of the day-to-day tasks. Like he was the ideas guy and she was the make it happen woman. That's the kind of dynamic that they had together. And she wreaked havoc, like she really did. She turned people, she was basically almost she was a psychopath, I believe, or was seriously misguided to do some of the things that she does in the documentary. And I think the shame of the documentary is that it doesn't really go deep into how incredible, like I mentioned before, how incredible the information was. Like, why were these sannyasins wanting to be in proximity to Osho and follow his teachings? Because they are phenomenal. Like, the wisdom that he gives is incredible. And I think that, you know, it's a kind of like not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because yep, his utopian vision of this society didn't work out. There were, as I say, rogue cells of people. Not saying that he was blameless in all of this, but the information which is at the heart of it all, and the techniques, are ultimately freedom for human beings, in my opinion. And I find it interesting that, you know, the people that were on the judging end of the documentary and the people that lived around it, you know, we only need to look at very religious societies and a lot of traditional Western society to see that there's a hell of a lot of repression, there's a hell of a lot of sexual kink and sexual repression within that. Like, how many people are out there having affairs, in miserable marriages, using prostitutes, not feeling comfortable in their own bodies, not feeling comfortable in their own skin, not being able to come to terms with the realities of life, and there's a lot of hatred of other groups. So, you know, the sannyasins and Osho's message is the complete opposite to that. It's bliss, it's freedom, it's Zen. And that is something that, you know, I really strive for in my own life, is accessing that freedom and that knowledge that that is a natural state that is being covered over by lots of conditioning and societal expectations. So I would say that if you've watched the documentary, it's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, God, I was like hooked on it. Watching an episode, I was like, oh my God, I need to know what happens. I was staying up really late to finish watching it because I loved it so much. And like I say, really fucked up stuff going on there, no doubt. Like, not saying that it's by any shape a blueprint of how we should create things, but there's good stuff there. Like, the foundation of the information is really powerful, and some of the techniques and the principles that they were applying at Rajneeshpuram, like, absolutely phenomenal. And it seemed like a lot of people were saying on the documentary they were the best days of their lives in some ways living there. You know, there was incredible times. So, you know, I would just say read a little bit of Osho, like, see if you can just find some online or watch a few of his talks and see if the information resonates with you. And another thing that I have, which I use a lot, is these Osho. A friend was just asking me about these today. I did a little Instagram story. I sometimes pull the cards when I wake up in the morning if I need a little bit of guidance, but Osho Zen cards are incredible. Like, the wisdom that you get from the cards, and then you get this little book with like explanation on each of the cards. And this has had such a tremendously positive impact on my life and helped guide me through really difficult times. So I have Osho to thank for that. Osho, you know, God, I don't even know how you're supposed to say his name. Osho. I call him Osho. So that's another brilliant little buy if you like pulling cards and things like that. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the documentary. I'm really intrigued as to hear about, have other people had a similar experience to me? Are you using the teachings? Have they had a positive impact on your life? I'd love to find out more about that. So if you know anyone else that's watched the documentary that might want to get in on the conversation, please like and share. And if you are enjoying the stuff that I am doing on this channel, please subscribe and press the little bell so you know when I'm going to post another video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Okay, thanks guys, bye.